Hello everyone, I'm Lost, and I have a request. Before launching yourself down into the comment section of this video to type out all of your grievances, I want you to watch this video in its entirety because I will use your comments as a resource for another project aiming to provide concise feedback to FromSoft. I have joined forces with a group of other content creators spearheaded by Storm in an attempt at making our voices heard. And we do know that From Software is aware of the discussion, considering this tweet. Of course, being aware and actually listening to us are two different things, but I think it's worth the effort. Look, I'm just a fan. A big fan. Hell, I make my living off of the From Software games. But as much as I love Elden Ring, and I certainly do, and as much as I plan on playing it for years to come, I recognize that the PvP is wounded. There are a lot of things we could talk about here. Stuff like glitches, network issues, balancing issues, and quality of life improvements. I don't want Elden Ring to die a death of 1,000 cuts. But today, I want to talk about something specific. Now don't get me wrong, all the other stuff will be getting their own videos, but for now, I would like to talk about what we could do to incentivize activities that make people invadable. What I want to do, more than anything else, is to preserve and nurture the unique experience that we get from invasions in Elden Ring, and future From Software games. We cannot find each other. As magnificent as the open world of Elden Ring is to explore, and it's one of the best in gaming in my opinion, it creates a slew of issues for PvP. Dark Souls 3 did not have this problem even with a much smaller player count since the game was so linear. You knew where people would be and at what soul level. This is not the case for Elden Ring. With so many different areas, with different invasion zones, with players at different weapon levels, it makes it hard to find people. The player base is scattered and the invasion pool diluted. I will quickly mention that a global invasion tool like the Wexdust mod for Dark Souls 3 would help tremendously in finding people, but there needs to be people to find, so the question still remains: how can we incentivize activities that make people invadable? Can we create simple yet fun objectives that would make playing through the legacy dungeons again feel rewarding? And the answer to that question is most certainly yes. Now, we are working within certain constraints here of course, as realistically, we won't get anything that requires too much work to implement. But I don't want that to stop you from coming up with ideas down in the comments. One very unrealistic idea might snowball into something great, so go for it. Speaking of which, here are my ideas for incentivizing PvP in Elden Ring. In Dark Souls 2, there was an item called the Bonfire Ascetic. When used in an area, the boss would respawn and that specific area would effectively go into New Game Plus, making all the enemies stronger. I would like FromSoft to add this item, but with a twist. Instead of respawning the boss, a chest would appear randomly in the area. At the same time, invaders would be lured in by the intensity of the grace and enemies would be buffed depending on the host's level. The host, with or without phantoms, would then have to scour the area looking for the chest, while the invader tries to stop them. Several variations of this concept could work. Perhaps we are looking for 3 different keys in order to open the chest. If the host defeats an invader, he could be rewarded with a key, an optional one of course to avoid griefing, or maybe he gets a hint that reveals where the key is located. It would give the PvE players some incentive to go back and play these areas again, while also creating a space for more invasions. If the host dies, the strength of the enemies would return to normal. As for what could be in the chest, there is a strong selection of potential rewards. You have Starlight Charge, upgrade materials, crafting materials, consumables, rune arcs. They are all solid options, but the best one, in my opinion, would be the Larval Tear. That's the item that allows you to respec your character, and since there is a finite supply of them, it would make for an excellent reward. The Phantoms would of course also get some loot for their help. Certain areas would work really well with this concept, I think, like Stormvale Castle, Volcano Manor, Lanedell, Carrion Manor, and basically every single one of the underground areas. If anybody in the comments has an idea that builds on this concept, do not hesitate sharing it. I just want good ideas, guys. I understand why From chose to move away from solo invasions. An experienced invader is very likely to completely pummel a new player. I have been playing these games for more than a decade now, and to offset those years of experience, From made it so that we can only invade groups. I get it, but that does limit invasions. We do have the Taunter's Tongue item, which allow hosts to become invaded when solo, but using it is a frustrating experience. Not only do you have to first use a remedy in order to activate the tongue, but if you die, you have to do the whole song and dance all over again. I don't understand why they didn't just make it an on or off thing, like the blue circlet. Plus, they didn't receive any reward for doing so. So let me suggest an alternative. The Company of Champions. Another idea I am ripping wholesale from Dark Souls 2, by the way. If you joined the Champions Covenant, it would make your playthrough that much harder. Enemies had more health and would do more damage, and you would not be able to summon people to help you out. It was a really cool in-game option to make your game even harder if that's what you wanted. Enemies would also drop certain items called Awestone that you could exchange for stuff. 50 Awestones would net you the Vanquisher's Seal, which would greatly increase the damage of bare-handed attacks, which I just find kinda awesome. This could be done in Elden Ring. Joining the Champions Covenant would make it possible for you to obtain a special headpiece, for example, at the cost of being solo invaded. I think a headpiece would make more sense here, simply due to it being more satisfying from a visual point of view. As in, it's easier to brag. This way, it's a choice, which would eventually be rewarded. And you know what? Let's just add an achievement or something atop of that, shall we? There existed a war zone in Dark Souls 3. The community lovingly referred to it as Gang City. If the player joined a covenant of the Aldrich Faithful, they would be automatically summoned to defend Gang City when other players seeked to kill its boss. The people who simply wanted the PvE could run through here, because it was a rather quick area, big but quick, while the more murderous of us could revel in the carnage. This concept existed for both Dark Souls 1 and 2 as well, in the form of the Forest Guardians and the Bellkeepers. Elden Ring does not have this, but it certainly could. Imagine for a second being a guardian of Carrion Manor, defender of Ranni the Witch. Considering that more people finish the game doing the Ranni ending than the default ending, I think Carrion Manor would flourish as a hotspot for activity. And how about the Gravelord servants from Dark Souls 1? A Gravelord could use an item to curse the world of other players with stronger and more deadly enemies. When they do so, it would create a summon sign that the cursed player could find and then invade. 3 different players could invade and try to murder the Gravelord servant to return their world to normal. This would give people a choice: seek revenge or deal with the now more powerful enemies. One more. How about a covenant specifically made to hunt down the invaders? It already kind of exists in Elden Ring, with Bloody Finger Hunter Yura. In Dark Souls 2, if you had too much sin, as in you invaded too much, you would open yourself up to invasions, and more invasions make me happy. I'm also realizing that I am taking a lot of stuff from Dark Souls 2. Great game. No matter what we come up with, some sort of progression would be needed, for both invader and invadee. For example, for the mystery chest, you should have some way to keep count on how many chests that you have reclaimed. Could be a little icon next to your name, or a glow that becomes increasingly strong as you find more chests. Same goes for the invader, except for him it's all about the murder, how many people he's chopped down. Perhaps we could get a piece of armor that could be customized. A simple chest piece with a large cape on which we could put symbols as we progress through the ranks. The important thing here is that we should find ways to reward the person who gets invaded, which means invasions then become something positive instead of just, death. And that's it. That's what I thought of. Now it's your turn. Any idea that you have that you may think got a seed of greatness in it, please leave it in the comments down below. And I will see you later. Kisses!